107. Okay, these guys onto something you won't learn in school. Flat on knowledge, sharpen up, now you're on tune. Man, these young encyclopedias play the game, now that's criteria. Welcome people to the cool spot in the media. How you doing? We chopping it up, so come with facts about the players you're repping. You broadcasting by the minute, but we be up by the second. Now you're second. From the O N to the AB, sit back and relax. This is Audie and AP.
So we're super happy and excited to welcome our first guest to the show. He's a 7-time NHL All-Star, World Junior Championship gold medalist, Canada Cup gold medalist, Olympic gold medalist, Stanley Cup champion, author, motivational speaker, and recording artist, just to add to that already impressive resume. Welcome to the show, Mr. Theo Fleury. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me on.
No, thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. So what are some things that you're up to today? We know that the motivational speaking and the many books that you're writing, and not to mention the country music career you've kicked off a little bit there.
Yeah, exactly.
Big fan of that as well. So what's Theo Fleury up to these days?
Well, the speaking sort of came to a halt after COVID, right? Because nobody could travel. So
yeah, for sure.
I actually have spent last few months designing an online course. And,
okay.
Doing some webinar stuff and also doing some one-on-one coaching as well. So, it seems like everybody sort of is online now, and so I thought I better get with the 2000s and figure this out. And so yeah, it's been really cool. I work in the field of trauma, mental health, and addiction now. Pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My email or direct messaging on social media is always full of people looking for help and looking for answers and asking questions and all that stuff. So it's been a cool transition. Post hockey career, to be able to, I've been able to help a lot of people who struggle, and it's been good. Obviously, I know that probably at no point in our lives have we ever seen what's happened in the last 4 months, and isolation causes a lot of mental struggle. And so, I have been probably just as busy or more busy than I was before this happened. So
absolutely. And the work you're doing is incredible. I guess before we segue into the discussion about your career and about hockey, this goes to anybody listening, obviously reaching out and expressing the need for help or wanting to talk to anybody. Like, our DMs are open, and, there's obviously an outlet here. This is more than just hockey. It's more than anything like that. So certainly good to have that outlet and for other people to reach out as well. So the one thing we wanted to, go ahead.
It doesn't get any more real than it's gotten in the last
absolutely
little while. So
absolutely. So the one thing we wanted to kind of segue into, we want to take you back to the start of your career. So we want to go talk about the draft. So I'll let AP kind of talk about this. We were talking a bit about we were looking back at that draft year and getting selected 8th round, 166th overall, and we wanted to know, because in today's NHL and with social media and everything like that, looking at and I'm going to put in quotes, 8th round draft picks, you don't really, not many people expect to have this, the same career that you did coming out of the 8th round.
Yeah.
Did you sort of use that 8th round, 166th overall pick as motivation to become the player that you were in the NHL?
No, not really. I always tell kids this all the time now. It doesn't matter what number, right? It doesn't matter what number. I had 472 points in junior.
Yeah,
right?
that's another thing we were looking at. The amount of people that passed up before was...
And basically, I didn't get picked until the 20th round because the year I was eligible, I didn't get picked.
Right.
Right?
Yes, that's true,
And
yeah.
it was 12 rounds then, and still... the following year, I got picked in the 8th round. But ultimately, I just wanted a chance. I just wanted an opportunity. I wanted to go to a training camp. I wanted to put myself up against, NHL guys.
Yeah.
And so the Flames gave me that opportunity by drafting me in the 8th round. And, I came to training camp with basically the organization saying that I would be a good minor league player. I would fill the stands in their minor league building, but that wasn't my intention. And, I came to my first training camp and lit it up, and I turned a whole bunch of non-believers into believers that, that by the time I left training camp, they knew that I was going to be an NHL player.
They knew who Theo Fleury was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that. so you get very few opportunities in life to sort of change the course of your life. And when I got to that first training camp, I was prepared to make an impression. And
Absolutely.
Not only did I make an impression, but like I said, I turned a whole bunch of non-believers into believers that maybe someday that I could, eventually play in the NHL.
So what would be your message maybe to kids that are getting drafted in these later rounds? Because you do see some players, they get discouraged, they want to be in those top few rounds. They want to be known as the guy selected in the first.
So they want to be first round flops then.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's the thing.
Exactly.
There's a lot of people. Like Audie said, we were looking at that draft, and there was a lot of people selected that didn't do anything.
You had to scroll through that list to see the people later in that draft. Well, even in the first and second round, players who actually hit the NHL ice.
Yeah.
There's people between second round and seventh round in your draft year that didn't even see a second of NHL ice time.
They didn't see a game.
Yeah. What people don't understand is there's only 700 jobs in the NHL. Okay. And most of them are taken because
exactly.
Ovechkin has a 10-year deal. Kane has a 10-year deal. Taves has a 10-year deal, right? You have all these guys. So you have, 9.5 million kids worldwide playing for what? 60 jobs a year?
If that, yeah.
That's it. There's no more jobs. There's no more jobs.
You gotta you gotta show up and impress like you did in training camp. You just gotta, lift your head up and just go at it.
Yep. And it is such a competitive industry, right?
Oh, no doubt.
And what's another thing I always tell kids is, you want more ice time, then learn how to play every position. Learn how to take face-offs. Learn how to kill penalties. Learn how to play in the last minute of games.
All things that you were notedly good at as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because I wanted more ice time.
Absolutely. You have to shine.
Yeah. And just being a one-dimensional player, which I probably was when I broke into the NHL because I had, all these stats. But there's way more to the game than scoring goals and making plays, right? And, I was very fortunate to, be around guys like Dougie Gilmore, Joe Nieuwendyk, Gary Roberts, Sergei Makarov, Håkan Lube. I got to be mentored, by all these guys. And that's one of the first things they said was, learn how to play every position, and, what was interesting was first game of the 1989 playoffs, Gary Suter broke his jaw in the first game and was out for the rest of the playoffs, which gave me, unfortunately and fortunately, an opportunity. I played the point on the power play on the number one power play unit in the whole entire NHL. Yeah. And so, if Gary doesn't break his jaw, guess what? I'm playing 5 minutes a night.
Right. Which was, in turn, we look at those 89 playoff numbers. That was, if I'm not mistaken, your rookie year.
Yeah.
Something like 11 points in 22 games, which as a rookie, you don't really see, especially in today's NHL, rookies making that much of an impact in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Which is something we obviously applaud you for. And we were really taken back by the numbers.
But I was lucky because I got to play in the power play unit.
Yeah.
I would say the majority of those 11 points came on the power play, and so, it was, I was very fortunate. And, I had a coach in Terry Crisp who believed in me too, right? And stuck me on the point on the power play. It was like, wow, this is,
Here we go. This is it.
this is fun, but it's also scary at the same time.
No doubt. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It worked out really well.
Yeah,
I get to play with Al McInnes, so basically get him the puck.
Learn from his shot, maybe, or just give him the
Get
puck.
him the puck.
Right on.
We wanted to ask you about that, because you go into these Stanley Cup playoffs. You're brand new to the league, and you win the Stanley Cup, something that people are waiting their entire career to do. You go in there, you make an impact, you win the cup. How did that feel, knowing that you did it? Like that was the first year you accomplished winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. Well, I think as a kid growing up, playing road hockey, you dream first and foremost of playing in the NHL. And then once you get to the NHL, then you dream about winning Stanley Cups. And so, I was able to accomplish that in the same year.
Yeah.
And I don't think that I fully appreciated it until I retired, and what was interesting is, I played another 14 years after that first Stanley Cup, and, I only got one more sniff at it. And that's when I went to Colorado and we lost to Dallas in Game 7 of the conference finals. And then Dallas beat Buffalo for, their first and only Stanley Cup. So, if we would have been able to get by Dallas, I'd probably have 2 Stanley Cups.
More than likely. And it's certainly, like you said, it almost, like, I wouldn't know, but I mean, like you said about, not almost letting it sink in. It's almost like your entire career flashes by, and then you're like, holy crap, I'm a Stanley Cup champion. Like this thing, especially when it happens so early on in your career, right? Like it happened your first year in the league.
But I think every year at the beginning of the year, the goal is always to win the Stanley Cup.
Oh yeah.
Right.
And so, to do it in your first year, and then, we probably should have won maybe one more in Calgary. And we couldn't get out of the first round of the playoffs. I think, let's see, Edmonton, we lost Game 7, double overtime. Vancouver, lost in overtime. San Jose, lost in overtime. And so, those 3 series, Vancouver beat us. They went to the finals, lost to the Rangers. San Jose, after they beat us, they had a pretty long playoff run too. So, if we win one of those series, who knows what happens?
It's a completely different story at that point, right?
Yeah. Right. That's why they say the hardest round to win is the first round.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough getting out of that first round. I'm sure. I mean,
as a Leaf fan, I'm sure he can attest to first round struggles.
Look at how many President's Trophy winners lost in the first round.
Even that, right? Like
look at what Columbus did to Tampa Bay a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can do it once you get in there. I mean, obviously you would know better than us, but it's anybody's game, right? You just have to impress in the playoffs. So.
And if you get momentum, it's hard.
Oh, yeah, it's a hard train to stop.
Yep.
Hard train to stop.
It's like a train going downhill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So something that Audie and I have discussed a lot, just being hockey fans, there's an iconic goal that's tied to you. Those 91 playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Game 6, you forced Game 7 scoring that overtime winner against the Oilers. And did you have Grant Fuhr's number? Like you scored a lot of goals on Grant Fuhr. I think your first NHL goal was on
first two.
Yeah. And then that overtime, pretty important goals, I would say. So that celebration, I mean, it's played everywhere. Were you like, I know what my celebration's going to be like? I'm sliding across the ice, or was that just feel?
Yeah, it was. I jumped out of my skin. So,
that.
And you know what? I was one of those guys who absolutely loved to score goals.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
And, last time I checked, the team that scores the most goals wins hockey games, right?
Yeah.
And so, I used to get really excited when I scored goals because scoring goals is not easy.
Yeah.
Especially in the NHL,
Certainly.
And, obviously, we all know the rivalry. That series was probably the most brutal, the most violent, the most insane series that I played in my whole entire career because we were trying to hurt each other like every game. When you were slashing guys, you were trying to hit bone.
It's the Battle of Alberta, baby.
The Battle of Alberta.
So I kind of wanted to segue, actually, if you don't mind, about the Battle of Alberta, because I mean, obviously, you've played in many of them, and that goal was obviously iconic. And to score it against the Oilers as a Flames fan, that's just even better for me. But the everybody is kind of following the narrative, or was until COVID struck this year, about the Battle of Alberta's back.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Do you think that
Pillow fight?
Time you played
Pillow fight.
A bit softer now.
It's a little softer, but do you think that it's kind of? Do you think it ever get back to what it was?
Great. It was great to see, that rivalry. And what's interesting? It's 29 years since Calgary and Edmonton played in the playoffs, and the last time we played in the playoffs was 1991.
Before either of us were even born.
Yeah.
And so, I think both teams, after, say 1995, both teams started to rebuild, right? And we made that awful trade with Toronto where we gave you Dougie Gilmour basically for nothing,
Great trade.
That honest to God, that set the franchise back 15 years, and so, both teams, because, basically Edmonton dismantled. Curry went to LA, Mess went to New York, Kevin Lowe went to New York, Glenn Anderson kicked around, Tikkanen kicked around. And so both teams sort of rebuilt in the 90s. And then, in the 2000s, the Flames would be good, the Oilers would suck. And then the Flames would suck and the Oilers would be good, right? And so finally, this year, if they would have played out the season, I think Edmonton and Calgary would have met in the first round, which would have been absolutely awesome.
Unbelievable. Would have been
to see that. So
I've only ever experienced the Red Mile once, and it would have been 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I couldn't imagine what it would have been like this year if it would have been an Edmonton Calgary first round. That would have been mental. But
yeah, it's a great rivalry, and it was fun to be a part of. Those games were awesome.
Seemed like a bloodbath.
Yep.
It really was. We've seen pictures online of guys after those games. I think there's a couple of you with just the blood dripping down the face and everywhere. And that, that's old school hockey, and it's stuff that we certainly went around to watch.
That whole series in 89 or 91 was, I think we probably went through the most ice bags because
trainers were busy.
Well, yeah, everybody had an ice bag on at the end of every single game, and there were 7 of them.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable. Something I don't think we'll ever see again is that kind of brand of
nothing
hockey.
Like that. It's definitely different now for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's a different game, right?
Yeah.
Game
ever evolving.
Yeah. There's less physicality. There's more sort of emphasis on skill and puck movement. They took the red line out. I wish they would have taken the red line out in 1990 because I probably would have had 500 goals.
Yeah. Yes. So speaking of scoring goals, I have to bring this up. Shorthanded goals. You had 35. You're tied 9th all time for shorthanded goals.
Mm-hmm.
Was there, because nowadays you see there's almost a different mentality. It's like, okay, just get the puck out of your zone, throw it, and then get a change. But when you were on the ice, it's like, well, if I have a chance to score, I'm scoring a goal. Like, was there a different mentality? Like, were you like, okay, well, I'm just out here I'm going to score a goal?
Well, I think first and foremost, you want to kill the penalty.
Right.
But, I would say in our era, they used a lot of forwards on the point on the power play, right? And so, the night I scored 3 shorthanded goals in St. Louis, Adam Oates was playing the point. So if I got a step on him, like, he ain't catching me.
No.
Yeah.
Not many people were.
Yeah.
Because
Adam Oates was a great passer, but he wasn't a great skater. You know what I mean? So yeah, there was a lot of that. And so if I turned the puck over in the offense in our zone, and I looked up and I saw me against a forward, yeah, I'm going to go take him on one-on-one, because 9 times out of 10, I'm going to get a chance, an opportunity to score.
I think it more or less has to do with hockey IQ and not many people thinking about making that kind of play on a penalty kill. Like AP said, a lot of players nowadays are just grabbing the puck and
because that's how they're coached, right?
And again, it goes back to the ever evolving hockey world that we live in and the way the game changes. But it's no fluke. Like, obviously, this was your game plan, and it just speaks to hockey IQ. But
like I said, I love scoring goals, whether it was even strength, power play, shorthanded, whatever. With empty netters, whatever it is, right?
For sure,
it counts if the puck goes in,
because the object of the game hasn't changed.
That's right. That's for sure. Keep it simple.
So we have a lot of we have some younger listeners. We have some people that are a bit older. Obviously, everybody knows who you are. You're an all-time great hockey player. Everybody should know. I mean, like I said, your highlights are still viral in today's day. Okay, like you're still every
talking about keeping up with the times. I think you might not directly be doing it, but your highlights sure are. So.
Yeah, that's great. Nobody's gonna be able to take that overtime goal out of the highlight packages. But if you were to say, okay, this was my best attribute as a player, this is who I was as a player, to somebody who may not know your game, because you did everything, like you said earlier too. Like, it's your speed, your hands, your shot. You had everything. Like, what would to you was your best attribute?
Competitiveness.
I love that.
I competed. Yeah. I competed every shift, every second, every minute, every shift. I say I was willing to die in order to win, right? And if there was a W on the other side of a brick wall, I was going through the brick wall.
Love it.
And that's, I feel like a lot of players are lacking that today. It seems like it's more or less becoming, and this is just my take, being a 24-year-old hockey fan and watching the game evolve, is that it's becoming more of a me game. This is kind of what I'm taking. It's more or less, I feel like a lot of players are coming in and making it a me game opposed to a we game. And it's all about the stats at the end of the day, and who's winning the Rocket Richard and who's winning the Art Ross, and opposed to
chicks dig the long ball.
That's right.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's basically what it is, right? Like, at least from my point of view, that's what I'm taking away.
And it's we broke, there was only 21 teams in the league when I broke in the league. So there was a lot more competition for jobs. And so the intangibles, which is competitiveness, drive, how hard you're going to work every day, those things were really, really important in the big picture, right? And the team part of it was everything, right? Like, I played on one of the greatest Stanley Cup teams of all time. If you look at that lineup, you just go, man, that's crazy that all these guys, played on that team, and I would say that the talent pool at that time was probably a little bit higher, like you look at the teams now and how they're built, they're built around the salary cap, right? And so your bottom 6 guys can all skate. Right. And combined, maybe during the year they score 30 goals?
Maybe 30, yeah.
Between the 6 guys, and so your top end talent is, there, but, it's the teams that have the good third and fourth lines that have success in the NHL.
The Bostons of the world.
Washington,
Tampa.
Stanley Cup, So, if you can get your bottom end, bottom six guys to contribute offensively, you have a good chance to win the Stanley Cup. And so, like I said, everybody can skate, but I think the biggest difference in our era from the era now is coaching. The game is way too overcoached.
Yeah. You bring that up, and I think that it's a very good point. You see less players kind of playing their game. It's more scripted from the bench is kind of what I see.
Right.
Yeah, because the coaches are making more than the players are. And so if I'm a coach and I'm making $8 million a year, I want to keep making $8 million a year. Right. But if I look at my team and they can't score goals, how am I going to coach them?
Exactly.
Right? I believe every coach coaches for a 0-0 tie, and you get a scoring chance in the last minute. That's the way the game is coached.
It almost seems as though it's less of a skill game and more of a coaching battle. Like who's out coaching who. That's almost kind of what it seems like.
I mean, that was what was happening in those Leafs Bruins series the last couple of years. I mean, Bruce Cassidy just outcoached Mike Babcock, and that's what happened. He didn't utilize his guys.
And the Leafs core group haven't learned to play without the puck yet.
Right.
Like, if you watch them play in their own zone, it's like
it's not good.
It's a shit show.
It's not good.
It's not exactly great to watch all the time.
Yeah. And in order for Toronto to win a Stanley Cup, like Austin Matthews has to become Patrice Bergeron.
Oh, I was hoping you were going to say
Mitch Marner has to become Brad Marchand, right? Like that's how you get to the next level, right? If you look at those Detroit Stanley Cup teams, like they were so good in their own zone, and I tell this story all the time is when Scotty Bowman was hired as the coach of the Detroit Red Wings, the first guy he called was Stevie Yzerman. And he said to Stevie, I don't want you to get 150 points anymore. He said, I want you to get 80 points and be our best defensive player. And once Stevie bought into that, guess what happened? He won 3 Stanley Cups.
Yeah.
Right?
It doesn't take much to it doesn't have to be that coaching battle we were talking about before. Like it's as simple as
because the Leafs have a great goaltender.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Freddie's great.
But if he's facing 50 shots a night, the percentages are just right. So your team doesn't play, and Toronto doesn't have to play like a brick wall defense. They just have to be responsible. That's it. If they're responsible, they have enough talent to win. Right?
Yeah. This is going to lead me to one more question here. Have you ever thought about coming back to hockey in some capacity in that way? Like just talking with you is like, you have all the answers. It almost seems like, have you ever thought about exploring that outside of like your playing career?
Well, I have thought about it. But when I wrote that book in 2009, it sort of put me on a different trajectory. And basically what I'm doing is life coaching now. I'm teaching people how to overcome trauma, overcome mental health, overcome addiction. And so, I've taken what I learned in the hockey world and sort of just transferred it into a different, mentality, right?
Absolutely.
And having had my own experience with all 3 of those things, I could give people, a different perspective as maybe a psychologist or a psychiatrist would give them. And and to be honest, I find what I do today probably 100 times more rewarding than I did when I was playing hockey, and you know, to change a person's life and to give them hope that they can overcome whatever, you know, gets thrown at them is, you know, I think the real reason why I was put on this earth.
Right.
As opposed to, you know, being this, you know, hockey superstar, you know.
Right.
And
No,
and to be honest with you, that whole part of my life seems like a lifetime ago.
It's incredible the work you're doing, and you know, obviously sharing your own stories and being able to connect with people on that level. Like, it's super applaudable, and we look up to you like incredibly, like, more than just a hockey player. Which everybody has their struggles and their battles. It's how you overcome them and how you know, set yourself, your trajectory forward. And obviously you've done all the right things, and now you're using your platform to help other people. And we're, you know,
Sure.
obviously,
you know,
like
the biggest transition is, you know, when you leave the game, right? You know, there's a lot of my former guys that I played against and played with who are struggling still, right. You know, and, you know, because they don't prepare us for really life after hockey, you
right.
know, and that's why I think a lot of the guys stay in the game in some capacity, is because, you know, they don't really know anything else,
right?
You know? And for me, I wanted to get as far away from hockey as I possibly could, because I thought I could have a bigger impact doing something else, you know, other than you know, stuck in that image of, you know, being this hockey player. So
for sure.
And
I
you're
think
doing it. It's incredible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's been interesting. You know, I would have never thought that this would be, you know, what I'd be doing post hockey career, but I can tell you it's been the most rewarding thing that you know, that I've done.
Absolutely.
I always say I would trade my Stanley Cup and Olympic gold medal to save somebody's life, because it's what it's all about.
And
right?
It doesn't go unnoticed. I mean, everybody realizes and can look up to you, which I think a lot of people need. They need to see that, you know, hockey players aren't perfect. You know, athletes aren't perfect. Everybody battles and everybody struggles.
Yeah.
And they can have that person to look up to and you know, reach out to, like you said, like your emails and your DMs, and everybody's, you know, trying to reach out and stuff like that. So
I would say I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
But
and you know, and I said this on the previous podcast that I was on, is, you know, there's nothing glamorous about being a professional athlete. Just the paycheck. That's it.
Yeah.
You know, you know, ask my kids how many dance recitals and birthday parties and hockey games I missed because I was pursuing, you know, my dream, right? So,
right.
And basically it's arenas, hotels, and airports.
It's a life on the road.
Yeah. It's, you know, and when you're home, you know, you're preparing to play at home, right? You know, so it's a huge commitment, and more importantly, it's a huge commitment on your family. You know, they sacrifice a lot for you to, you know, follow your own dreams.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we'll have to leave it at that. We're running out of time here. So again, we just want to thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about your career and obviously your endeavors after hockey. Like we said, we both look up to you. We're super proud of the work you're doing, and thank you for what you do.
From
the bottom of our hearts.
Thanks for asking me to do this. And you know, Wednesdays is my podcast day because I get lots of requests.
Yeah, I could imagine.
But it's something, you know, I love. I have my own podcast now.
We saw that. If you want to give it a plug for everybody else,
promote everything.
Go ahead.
Promote everything that you have. Hey, listen, you got to do it. You got to promote everything you got.
Well, my website is theofleury.life. You know, and seeing that I'm not speaking at the moment, I designed a online trauma course that'll be out in the next couple weeks. I do one-on-one coaching as well. If anybody's looking for a little more intimate and, you know, maybe a little bit more hardcore, I'm available to do that, and they can reach out on the website. I'm on Twitter, Instagram at Theo Fleury 14, and on Facebook, I have a fan page and I have a personal page, Theo Fleury. And I'm also on LinkedIn too. So yeah.
All the platforms. Awesome.
All of it.
All of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day, and hopefully we can chat again sometime in the future. That would be awesome.
Make sure you tag me in the link, and I'll send it out to all my followers.
Oh, we certainly will.
Awesome.
Okay.
I appreciate
Very
it.
much. Have a good
No
day.
problem.
Take care, Theo. See ya.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good one. See ya.
Bye.